Welcome to the Yo-11 podcast. Yo-11 podcast, mostly Vegas, no BS casino experience and more. Michael Trager is a casino and travel loyalty expert who also helps people turn their travel dreams into travel realities. And now your host, Michael Trager. How's it going, Michael?
I am doing fantabulous.
Oh, that's a new one. Is that a new one? Is that a new word? I think that's a new word.
It's instead of fantastical, I'm fantabulous.
It's like a combination of fantastic and fabulous. That's clever. That's clever. Scrabble is going to have to add that to their gameplay. That's a good one. Fantabulous. You got to TM that thing immediately.
So I know you're still pondering about whether I should leave Win. I know you're thinking about that, but
it's a bit on my mind, man.
And I know. I mean, it's something there, but I still think what's an interesting thing is when is the optimizing less important than the comfort and the happiness?
When optimizing is no longer your comfort and happiness, I would say.
That's a good point. And then the other point of it too is I think overall I probably gamble less than I did years ago. So that's also, there's less of a chance of more benefit. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because I think the biggest part for people when they talk about offers decreasing, like people, like the last episode we talked about, like win offers decreasing. If I gamble a lot less than I used to, so the component of gambling is giving me smaller offers to begin with. Now, still the win offers are still going down, but it's less that I'm giving up, if that's a good answer to the question. So that doesn't incent me as much necessarily to go somewhere else. Whereas somebody else who gambles a lot, so I guess it's sort of the difference is like somebody else who gambles a lot, and I'm making this up. This is totally made up situation. Wynn's only given them $300 in resort credit and $300 in free play, but Palazzo, Venetian, I like saying opposite. Venetian Plaza will give them, 1,000 and 1,000. So that's a lot. Whereas maybe, with me, I'm dropping from 750 to 500 to 200, and I'm like, okay, well, instead of getting 200, maybe I get 400. It's not enough to move the needle for me to leave what I'm comfortable with and what makes me happy. I don't know. That's sort of a thought, but I'm not sure. So we'll have to see. Part of that is getting older and just being comfortable with things, and you like what you like and you want what you want within reason. So we'll have to see.
All right. Well, speaking of thoughts and ponders, we have a podcast ponder for today. Let's get to it. Today's podcast ponder is Golden Gate the slots of fun of downtown? Here's why I'm proposing that question. As we know, recently, Golden Gate decided that they would begin to remove the craps tables out of Golden Gate. And if you want to play craps, there's bubble craps and crapsless craps and all these weird variations of craps. There's one called easy craps I saw not too long ago. I'm not sure what that means. Although, what is crapsless craps if it's not craps? It's just less.
No, crapless craps has no crap numbers, but there could be bubble craps, crapless craps, and live craps, crapless craps.
Yep, I've seen bubble craps, crapless. Bubble craps, crapsless craps.
Say four times really fast. Bubble craps, crapless craps.
Bubble craps, bubble craps. Damn it! I can't do it. But the thing about Golden Gate is, is it the slots of fun of downtown? Because once you remove table games, Golden Gate, first of all, Golden Gate hasn't had anything going for it since Dupar's left, right? There's no place to eat at Golden Gate. There's no pool at Golden Gate or anything like that, but they will charge you a resort fee. It's not a resort. But they say, well, yeah, you can use your, the resort fee covers, you go over to Circa and you can use your whatever, the pool over there and stuff over there, go across the street to Circa. And so you, well, why am I paying the resort fee of Circa? I'm not staying at Circa. You know what I mean? So I'm not staying at Golden Gate. I'm just saying if someone's not staying at that, they should. If it's listen, it's not a resort. It's not. It shouldn't be resort fee by association. That makes no sense to me. But there's nothing to eat. There's going to be no table games, and it's just you walk in and it's nothing but slots. It's lots of fun. They might if they want to they could go back and just give it a little throwback. Put some sawdust on the floor. Maybe some peanut shells. But I think Golden Gate is the slots of fun of downtown. What do you think, Traeger?
Well, this is a really interesting question because, playing table games like craps at Golden Gate was a really cool experience. Not only the odds, but they had really nifty dealers, and it was a really good, like old fashioned kind of dealer experience, much different than the D and much different than Circa. So, if we're talking about three hotels in a group, and in some ways, I'm always trying to think about the logic of these kind of things. And the only thing that hits me is that they're saying, well, if you want to stay in our group of casinos and you want to play live table games, you can go over to the D or you can go over to Circa. But that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Because it's almost like if you said you have two Caesars Rewards casinos, Horseshoe and Paris, and you said, oh, we're not going to have any more table games at Paris. You can go over to Horseshoe to play the table games. But most people don't want that. They like the experience and the ambiance of the specific casino, and telling you to go to another casino to play live table games, I think, risks the fact that you might lose a customer or lose them to a different casino organization. So I really can't figure it. I really can't figure it. I think it's a little bit sad. And I think it's also not like there was such an immense number of table games that I would figure that the labor's there. The only thing I can think is that maybe the number of people playing table games there got to such a small number of people. And remember, now you have all these electronic table games, which we never had before, that it just became, I mean, maybe not so much like the cost and the economics of it is, but maybe it just turned into a situation, well, nobody's playing the table games at Golden Gate anymore, so it doesn't make sense for us to have them. And I have no idea if that was happening, but it's sort of odd to me. It's really odd. What do you think about that, Malvestro? Like the reasoning behind it? I mean, just we have no idea what the reasoning really is, but I just can't. Like, do you think it was really that down? Like things changed so much at Golden Gate between now and 5 years or 10 years ago, where people are playing the table games less often? I guess. I mean, for you to know, you'd have to be there more. I mean, unless you had access to the data, you'd have to be there quite often to be able to give an answer on that. Because everyone seems in like the Vegas world, which is pretty nostalgic, pretty not happy. People are not happy about that.
Yeah, yeah. It doesn't make any sense to me. I would assume they have to be doing that badly where they decided to just use that space for slot machines. Maybe slot machines are doing better than table games, but it's just like, dude, even Casino Royale has table games. So just to remove table games from a
No, they
casino.
don't anymore
Yes, they do.
since COVID.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
no.
yeah. I just checked. I just
Casino
Googled it.
Royale, I think, only has electronic table games now. Did they add them back?
They
I
must have.
swear they took away their table games. Oh my God. We can argue it. We need to go there. We'll get a Nathan's hot dog. We can figure this out. Put it on a
We will
list.
figure this out. Yep, Best Western Plus Casino Royale. Yep, and it talks about their table games.
Really? I swore. Okay, now I'm
Live
totally
table
going.
games
I'm having a senior moment.
featured. Oh, you can't make that out on that screen, can you? Guess not. Too much reflection of my light. But
Okay, well, this is but interesting. So what do you think? What do you think the reasoning? Do you think the reasoning could just be as simple as nobody was playing table games anymore at Golden Gate?
oh, it says the pit is temporarily closed. Oh, but then it says try 3, 4, 5 odds on craps, blackjack, switch bonus, roulette. All right, I'm gonna have to go there. I'm gonna have to go there
Hey,
tonight. I'm gonna go there tonight. I'm gonna ride out there, and I'm and I'm gonna find out what's going on.
like, yeah, like, that's so. What do you think? What is the reason folding? Like, what do you think the reason is? Or do you not have thought about it? I'm sure you do.
It's got to be that it just wasn't pulling in money. I guess. I mean, they want to get rid of something that's making money, right? So it's got to be down to that. I would imagine.
So not making money, not making enough money.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe sort of hurt them if you look from the perspective for people who play in that loyalty program. Maybe people just were, who used to, before Circa, you had Golden Gate and the D, all of a sudden Circa comes in. So now you're splitting that, the players who want to stay within the same loyalty program for the property. I don't know.
If the pit is closed at Casino Royale, we could say is Golden Gate the Casino Royale of downtown? I'll have to find out. I gotta find out.
I think the slots of fun is more fun.
Apropos, yeah. So do I. Totally agree with it.
Yeah. Oh, the other thing is your resort fee, your conversation, which I know it comes up every couple of months, but everybody loves it, and it's not like we put it in the title to tease you about incredible new information about resort fees.
Oh, don't forget the thumbnail with the. You gotta have. Yeah, you gotta have that.
They should just. I tell you, they should just like put a fee on the folio, and it should just be like FUF.
I see what you did there.
Can you just see? Excuse me. I was just checking out and I'm paying my bill, but I noticed this FUF charge. I didn't use any FUF. Oh no, that's the fuck you fee.
That's what it's for. There's a resort fee. Why is that? Why? Because fuck you. That's why.
It's like the anti-marketing. It's like the anti-marketing scheme, right? I mean, that's. That's a but the truth of it is, it really isn't a resort fee. It's just a fee. It really is just a fee. It's a fee. It's not a resort fee.
Not a resort. It's just a fee.
There's no resort coming on. Even things that are funny in the golden age of resort fees. There were things like the resort fee includes a daily newspaper. Now it doesn't even, like, there's no way. They're like, we're not going to spend money on like getting a bunch of newspapers that we give people away. No way. We're not going to give you anything.
What about free landline phone calls from your hotel room?
Free long distance.
Yeah. Like we all have that now. Distance. It's in our hands. It's our cell phones.
Also, long distance has no meaning anymore, because when you used to have landlines and your phone number had to be in the area where the landline is. Now nobody's phone number has to relate to where they live. I think it is so weird when you call someone that you haven't called ever before. Somebody calls your number and they assume that you like, oh, you live in, they look at a number, oh, you live in Detroit, your area code. And you're like, no, I don't. I lived there 20 years ago. I mean, I happen to get like, just because the area code is on my phone probably doesn't mean that I live there. Am I wrong about that? Is that like a crazy? I just think it's very weird that people still say that.
Yeah. It doesn't mean anything anymore.
Yeah, but let's see. Well, we would be curious about other people's opinions. Is this no more live table games at Golden Gate bothering you? Because it bothers me, because I think they had a really good experience there. And I even chose to end one of my dice crawls there. And that makes me sad. I'm not so great. I can only handle so much change. I mean, That's the truth of it. So but I am curious what other people think. I know Movestro is not a fan of this, so we will see. And I'm not necessarily saying I'm not a fan. I also hate losing table games, but I don't worry as much anymore. Many years ago they said, "Oh, craps is dying. Craps is going to be gone. Nobody plays it. The newer generations don't like to play it." But that seems to have gone by the wayside, and table games seem to still be quite popular. And craps is quite popular, and Baccarat is definitely popular. Blackjack is still popular. And I think almost the opposite effect has happened somewhat because people have so much access to electronic gambling and online gambling and other things that I think actually now people do want that experience of playing at a table with friends and having a live dealer, because so much in life has become automated, right? I mean, it'll eventually, you're not going to be able to get into a ride share that has a human in it. It'll all be automated. I'm telling you, Movestra, it's gonna happen.
Yeah, I know. I know. Not looking forward to it, but I know.
So we shall see. So I guess it's time to move on to the teas. So I was just doing a bunch of like this and that stuff that we haven't talked about before. And one of the things that comes up quite often, and I'm assuming many people who follow Travel Zork or follow our show know this already, but it does come up quite often in Facebook groups. This whole notion of credit card holds and this complication. I guess people get very confused because you have a rate for your hotel that you pay, and then you have resort fees that are often added on separately, which are totally broken out and different from the rate. And then you have another fee that's added on, which you get back, which is sort of an incidentals charge. And that varies, but most hotels will tell you what that incidentals charge is. And that is a charge that's sort of I don't really consider it much of a security deposit anymore. It's a little bit more of a charge. It's to cover the fact that you can room charge incidentals, meals, and things back to your room. So they're pre authorizing that. And if you don't use that, then it gets put back on your credit card. So, say you check into a hotel and you're there for 5 nights, they might authorize an additional $100 per night above the price of the room and the resort fee, which is just for incidentals. And what happens with those incidentals is that if they're only authorizing a certain amount, like 100 a day or $500, and you spend more charging to your room than at $500, then they'll continue to authorize more money for incidentals. Does that make sense? Is that a good way to describe it, Movestro?
Yeah, sounds perfect.
Yeah, and but this gets really dicey when you use a debit card, because when you use a credit card, these authorizations are just sort of, they're funny money because they're not real yet. They're authorizations. Things don't become real on your credit card until your credit card settles, when the bill settles, and then the charge becomes a settled charge. Whereas with a debit card, they're actually pulling the money out of your account for all of these authorizations. So that is sort of yucky, because if you use your debit card to get cash out of your account, you will not have access to that cash because that cash is, quote, being tied up. And then the really bad part about it is when you check out. So, say you check out, and just using simple math, the total amount authorized for with incidentals was $3,000, but you didn't use any incidentals or whatever, and you check out and it's $2,000. Well, if it was a credit card, they would just settle the $2,000. All the authorizations drop off, and what shows up on your bill is a $2,000. If it's a debit card, well, they've authorized this $3,000 and taken that money out of your account. Now, when it's settled to 2,000, they have to put that money back in your account. And if a hotel has a really, really good computer system and does things correctly, that money can be put back in your account very, very quickly. But sometimes that isn't the case, and the money isn't put back very quickly, and it can take a little time. And that sort of sucks because it's your money that's out there. It's not just your credit limit. So that's something I like to tell people, that it's really best to use a credit card for travel. It doesn't have to be the highest credit limit, enough that can handle what you're doing, because then you don't have to worry, especially for people who gamble and need access to their cash in their checking account. Also, the problem with debit cards is that even though there is some level of fraud prevention, and if something goes wrong, the money is taken out of your account, and then you're arguing later that something was fraudulent or not correct, and for them to put the money back in your account. Whereas with a credit card, the money, even if something settles that you want to dispute, the money's never been taken out of your checking account, right? Because that money is only taken out of your account when you pay the credit card. So if you dispute something, that something goes into a dispute factor, and you don't have to pay for that until the dispute is resolved. That's why credit cards are so much safer. So that's something definitely to think about. The other thing to think about, sometimes if you're really set on using debit cards, sometimes it's good to set up a second checking account, which is a checking account you just use for your debit card. And that's good because, say, authorizations went wild and you had only $3,000 in your checking account, and you thought the hotel stay and everything was only supposed to be authorized for $1,000, and they keep authorizing, or they authorize again, or they authorize for more money. Well, it's going to use it all up until there is no money, until it's used the $3,000, not used, but applied. Whereas if you said, hey, I'm going to have a separate checking account, only my debit card is that checking account, I'm only going to keep $1,000 in there, or 1,500, or exactly what I need. And if something goes wrong, or I need more money, I will transfer more money into that account. So then, at least if you checked into a hotel, there's no way they can authorize more during the trip than you have in that account, and you can always put more money in. So that would mean that your gambling cash is definitely safe, and you don't have to worry about any mishaps with the authorizations. Does that make sense, Movestro? I don't know anyone who's ever said doing that, but that could be a cautious approach if you absolutely wanted to use a debit card and wanted to make sure that it didn't get over authorized for any reason.
Yeah, absolutely. I used to visit out here and plop down a debit card, and I always had that little anxiety in the back of my head. So yeah.
Yeah, because the thing is, like, you plop down the debit card, you get everything gets authorized, and now you've got X amount of money left over. Let's call it $2,000 left over. And what happens if it keeps authorizing more, or there was a mistake and something happened? Then the money's not there. And then even if the front desk goes to correct the mistake, debit card stuff doesn't get reversed that quickly. You know what I mean? Like, it'll be like, oh, the money will be back in your account in 3 days from now. Well, that doesn't help you when you're home in 3 days from now, right?
Right, exactly.
So those are things that I like to think about and bring up, and I don't think people bring them up as often as they should. So it's something to talk about. The other thing, hotel room upgrades all the time. That's one of the most fun topics that we're talking about. And recently, Loyalty Lobby was talking about Bonvoy rolling out automated complimentary upgrades that are based on AI, and all this different kind of stuff. And the one interesting thing about hotel upgrades is that there are just so many different so many different programs going on, and you really have to pay attention and ask a lot of questions. There are the programs where you're sent emails about upgrades. I think I've reminded people before that you need to make sure your email address is correct. Don't ever make a hotel reservation. You need to have an email. If you're really bad at email, then you need to have an email that you actually do check, and that you only use selectively for certain things, because some of the best offers come via email or allow you to opt into them. Also, most hotels have upgrade programs where you can pay to upgrade and negotiate at check-in. That's something else very, very good to know. The other good thing to know that's important is when you book a room, be it a comp room, maybe it's not a comp room, but the next category is a charge for the higher room category. You need to be aware of what the charges were. So say you got a regular base comp room, or they would give you, the upgraded room for $100. Now you decided you didn't want to do that, so that's fine. So you take the comp room. So then that next higher category room, you should be aware of what that room sells for at the time that you booked, just as a reference point. And then also aware of what they were willing to charge you to quote upgrade or just book that room category. So then you know if upgrade offers are good or bad. When booking non-casino hotels, that's like really easy to do. So if the base room, let's use easy numbers. If the base room that you booked was $500 and the next category up is $750, well, that's fine. You booked the $500 room. So the next category up is 750. That's $250 if you just bought the upgraded room. So if you get an upgrade offer for $50, or if when you check in, you ask the desk, how much will it cost for me to upgrade to this? And they say it's going to be $100. Well, then you know you got a good deal because you have that stuff. So you put it on your notebook and you need to be aware of what the rates are. Same thing with the suites. So if you buy a regular room for $500 and a suite is going for $1,200, well, then you're like, okay, well, I would have never bought that. That's $700 more. But when they send you an offer by email for $200 to upgrade, or at the front desk, if they'll do it for $300, you know you're getting a good deal. Because one of the problems with the paid upgrade programs is knowing if you are getting a good deal. And that's something that's interesting to think about, because you want to try to optimize. So that's a good way to optimize. And I would say almost all of the time, especially for suites and hotels, you will do better with upgrade offers than you will with buying the suite outright. So that's something good. But of course, you have the risk the suite might not be available because you're dealing with an inventory thing. And Vegas becomes even more interesting because there's more inventory. So that's something to keep in mind. I love to tell people that guaranteed late checkout is something that's tough. It's often provided with status benefits, either casino status or hotel status benefits, but a great way to have a guaranteed late checkout, and you should always think of this when you're booking a casino room. See if you could book, if you have an 11 o'clock at night flight, see if you could book through to the next day. That does two things for you. Sometimes you'll get that extra comp night, which is wonderful. So you literally are using the extra night for an extra late checkout. The other thing is, when you check out of your room, don't physically check out, because I have had this happen to me before, where I went to get a red eye flight and the flight wound up being canceled and I came back to my hotel. So you could call in the morning and tell them, oh, you can check me out of the room, or just let it check out by itself, or check out on the app. But never, so say it is Wednesday and you have that room till Thursday, because you booked it through to Thursday because you had that extra comp night, but your flight's at 11 o'clock at night. Do not go to the desk and tell them you are checking out of that room at 11 o'clock at night. Because if you do that and you go to the airport and your flight cancels and you come back to the hotel, guess what? You no longer have a room. And that sort of sucks, especially because there's no reason why you really needed to check out that night. The only time that I would say it's that you should check out is if you book through to the extra night and it's a casino comp room and you're really leaving at like 3 o'clock. That might be good, because sometimes if you're leaving at like 3 o'clock, you can check out and it actually won't count as if you had that extra comp night sometimes. So in that case, I would say fine. But if you're not leaving the room till 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night, well, checking out at that point is always going to be usage of the comp night. So there's no advantage to checking out early, if that makes sense. Have you heard that tip before, Movestro?
I have not. That was a new one for me.
Okay, so that's some of my other stuff. I've also been diving into lately uh, the whole connector conundrum, because Vegas is really difficult with guaranteed connectors and New Year's Eve. So most two-bedroom suites are one bedroom with a connector, or even having two rooms that connect, and they are really difficult. I mean, that's difficult. Most hotels hate guaranteeing connectors, even if you're a family and you really need it, because it is a little bit of a Tetris game for room inventory. So that's just something to keep in mind. If it is really important to you, you need to make sure that it is guaranteed. And many hotels dance around guaranteed. Like, we will try our best, we will do our best, we always do our best for our guests, we always want to make sure that we're able to provide them with a guarantee, provide them with the connector they desire to the best of our ability, which is still not a guarantee. So that's other stuff to keep in mind. Anything you're thinking about with you like hotel rooms, Movestro? Any thoughts there? Any thoughts? Did you have any processes when you used your comp rooms sometimes? Did you ever book the extra night for a late checkout?
No, I never did the late checkout. Did I ever do the late checkout? No, no. I mean, unless it was like a late checkout by 2 hours, but not, into like that night, which is a brilliant idea, but it wasn't something that I thought of at the time.
Yeah, you could also sometimes, so you could do the opposite for guaranteed early check-in, but that's a little bit dicier with comp rooms, because what happens is you usually get shown as a no-show. So you need to make sure that the hotel or your host notes that this room is booked from Tuesday, but you're arriving on Wednesday at 6 a.m. and you need to get the room because you really had the room booked from the night before. It is rather common with regular hotel programs where they have third night or fourth night free. I do that for clients all the time, where they don't really need the fourth night free, but we use the fourth night free, especially after an overnight flight to Europe, for a 6 a.m. check-in, and it's brilliant. But I always make sure to tell the property so that they are aware that this guest will not be checking in the day before. They will not be checking in on Tuesday. They will be checking in on Wednesday, but it's 7 a.m. But the room is booked from the night before. But when it's fourth free night, it's basically a freebie extra early check-in, which is super great, because there's nothing like arriving on a 7 a.m. flight that's a red eye and having to wait till 4 o'clock for your room, or a little bit earlier if they happen to grace you with some level of early check-in. So that's some of my thoughts there. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you have questions about New Year's Eve suites in Vegas, or if you want to just talk about suites in general, especially two-bedroom suites, that could be an opposite, custom built two-bedroom suites, like the two-bedroom apartment in Wynn, as opposed to the other two-bedroom suites, which are parlors and salons that connect. I would be happy to do an episode on that. Just let us know.
Alrighty, sounds good. Do you want to mention that summit that you will be doing about a week from this episode?
Is it a week from this episode? Is that true?
From this
That
episode,
is
yes.
true. Yes, it will be. Yes, come check me out at Loyalty Summit in Chicago if you are in if you're really into the business side of travel loyalty, and that would be something that some people might really like. And you can find their website. You could we'll put a link in the show notes, but we talked about that on the last episode. But it is listed at ft.events, but it is a long URL. So I just have to see. I think it'll be easier for us to list the links, but I think if you go to ft.events, it does bring you up it will bring that to you. And that's easy enough for me to mention. So yes, if you go to FT events, it will bring you to loyalty summits. So visit ft.events to find out about the Chicago Loyalty Summit, the Frequent Traveler Awards in Chicago, Loyalty and Retail Media Summit in Berlin, and the Loyalty Summit in Hong Kong in November. I will be in Chicago. So if you're in the Chicago area, make sure to give me a shout and maybe we can grab a drink.
Alrighty. And is there anything on your mind or anything you want to share?
That's it. I think we shared enough, and we'll figure it out. Or I'd always looking for people to share things that they would like us to podcast and discuss. Though I have a long list of things, and I need to talk about some of the new Citibank cards and what's been happening with the new Alaska cards, and that's all very heavy travel loyalty. But I haven't had my brain space there to want to give you all of my thoughts about that yet. So you're just gonna have to wait a little bit, just a little bit.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. All right.
Yes. Thank you. And this just made my afternoon because I got a Movestro song moment.
Well, there you go. And that's going to do it for this episode. Luxury travel booking, travelzork.travel. Visit us at travelzork.travel to plan your next amazing vacation, not just to Las Vegas, but anywhere in the world. And join the conversation on social media. You can find us easily. All social platforms are at TravelZork. We'll see you next time.